everybody. Welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You are listening to episode 15 for the week of February 24th, 2019. I'm your host, Drew, and I am joined by the one and only Will. Will, what's up, man?
Happy Friday, Drew.
Happy Friday. Here's just a quick offline note. Like, I have a script that I set up, every week, and just to kind of give me some pointers to follow. And in the script, I wrote, quote, for the week of February 24th.
Hooked on phonics did not work for you, sir.
Oh man, I've been sick since we recorded last time, and it's like not getting better. My head is like a fog. So I'm gonna rely on you to keep me in line today.
So it was 24th?
Yeah, 24ND instead of 24th. Like, thank God I saw it and I corrected myself before I said it, but my God.
Maybe that's the episode title.
Yeah, it might be February 24th.
Oh gosh.
How the hell are you, bud?
I'm well, man. You?
Well, I'm.
You're existing.
Yeah. What was it? Surviving? I'm surviving.
Surviving, bro.
February 24th. And I'm making a note of this now so we don't forget. Yeah, man, it's been a crazy week. It's been a really long week for me, and I'm glad it's Friday, but I feel like it doesn't matter because I got so much stuff to do this weekend.
What do you have to do?
Well, so I was supposed to go out to Long Island for a funeral service tomorrow, but the service got rescheduled. So we're moving that. So now instead I'm working on a film project with one of my classmates, and we're going to be getting that taken care of tomorrow morning. And then after that, I honestly don't have anything else, but it's in Norwalk, which is about an hour drive from me. So it's going to kill a big chunk of the day.
Sure.
And then Sunday, you and I and our loved ones are going to be joining some friends. We're going to get some dinner together, and it's going to be a nice time.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah,
we're getting Indian food, and for the Tawanis, that's looking at the back of your hand. They're just so used to it.
Yeah, it's a treat for me though. I never get to have that kind of stuff unless I'm over their house.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, man. Well, before we jump into our episode for the day, just want to take a quick moment to thank everybody for hitting that download button. Make sure you are subscribing to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, Google Play Podcasts, whatever podcast app you use. You can find us, Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. Subscribe, leave a review. 5 stars, please. We'd be very grateful if you do. It would make us so happy, and it would help the show. You can follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at WDGRPodcast. That's WDGRPodcast. Will, if somebody wants to follow you, how can they find you?
Will_Gear.
You can follow me at CyonStorm. And don't forget, you could also download our shows directly from our main hub at WDGRPodcast.libsyn.com. Link will be in the show notes. And don't forget to join our Discord channel, everybody. We have a wonderful community of people that are in there, very active, lots to say.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to dive into that. I think, should we do the mailbox now?
Let's do it now.
All right, let's jump right into the mailbox. One of these days, I'm going to have a catchy soundbite for that. Throughout to the crowd, what is everybody playing? What are you looking forward to playing? What is on your mind? And we got a lot of great stuff. Some fantastic topics for the show, including Joe Donut says, my gaming thoughts for this week. Another year, another Far Cry game with a terrible story and pretty fun gameplay. I feel like Far Cry, you kind of know what you're going to get with that. It's like going to that pizza place every week that delivers. If a pizza place is delivering, they're probably good, not great, right?
Yeah.
And you go there and you get them to deliver, and every time you're going to get a mediocre pie, but it's still going to be good, but it's never going to go to that next level. I feel like that's Far Cry at this point.
Yeah, it seems that way. I feel like they're kind of pumping out games, at this rate.
Mm-hmm. Um,
And the premise seems to be quite clear just based on the cover or like the cover art for most of their games at this point. Like you could just look at it and be like, all right, this is taking place in, like a jungle setting or whatnot. So like it's very clear like their direction on what they're doing now with the premise and plot.
yeah. Last Far Cry game I played was Blood Dragon.
Oh gosh, yeah, I actually have that and I still haven't played it, which is a major crime because I know it's supposed to be very like 80s enthused.
It is dripping with 80s.
Love it.
Let's see here. Joe continues. Anthem's problems are really making me realize how much I took for granted with Destiny, including loading screens where you could check your gear or being able to change gear during missions, sometimes seamless loading between areas, all kinds of fancy technical stuff that's been there since 2014. And on the 360 PS3, no less. BioWare had over 4 years to learn from that game. I'm going to dive into some Anthem discussion once we get into what are we playing. But Joe makes some very good points, and I think I'll address those a little bit further shortly. But any quick thoughts on that?
Not particularly. I mean, I feel like I'm still not really up to speed on what's going on with Anthem because I'm just
Mm,
not playing it.
yeah.
And I'm just not really following this game at all. So I'm just kind of, getting tidbits here and there from you guys.
Hmm.
So I'm interested to hear what you have to say about that. And it sounds like Joe has like a little bit of a bone to pick with, I guess, BioWare.
Seems that way. Seems that way. And I'm not going to go into too much detail right now, but I will say he's not completely wrong.
Understood?
So, Raffi Fat Fingers also jumping on the Anthem bandwagon. First of all, what a great name.
Yeah,
Uh,
he has the best names. He
he
really does.
That is a tremendous name, Raffi Fat Fingers. How are you calling the patch today? The day one patch when anyone can play since the 15th, except PlayStation users. Respect your customer a little. Preach, my brother, preach.
Yeah, Raph is very opinionated when it comes to things like that.
Hmm.
When it comes to DLC, when it comes to patches, he's very opinionated, but in the same context, in the right kind of way. Like it's
Yeah,
not just he's not opinionated to just be that way. Like he really has good credentials and a lot of like ammunition to kind of back up his statements. So I'm interested to see more of what he has to say about that.
yeah, definitely. I am too. He dives into what he's been playing. It looks like Apex Legends is on the top of his list. Couple interesting things about it. The cast of characters is uniquely diverse. Different races, different genders, different sexual orientations. There is a character, Bloodhound, who identifies as a non binary, even. The most basic soldier. I'm not sure if this is a typo. The most basic soldier class that people are drawn to is also this badass black chick with short hair. Everyone talks about how the pinging system is amazing, which it is. Helps that you don't have to talk on voice, but another thing they do is they have an option so that you won't hear people talking in game on their mic, but the game will transcribe what they say to text. Ooh, that's nice. Easier to ignore BS, but you can still get good info from teammates without a squeaker shouting at you. So I have not played Apex yet. I don't believe you have either.
No.
Um, but I'm really digging that whole speech to text thing. That is a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I was not aware. Again, this is a game I don't know much about, but just based on reading his kind of description of what's going on, it definitely sounds kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean it's set in the Titanfall universe without the Titans at this point. I think there may be rumblings that at some point they'll show up, but right now it's just the I can't remember the technical term that they had for them, but it's just the regular pilots. I think it was pilots. Um, and I mean that was a very fast paced game. A lot of wall running and parkour and stuff like that. So I mean, there's a solid shooter wrapped in there right off the bat. I'm not sure how I feel about the battle royale part of it, but a lot of people are enjoying it. It plays well and it's free, which doesn't hurt.
Yeah, and like we said, that's kind of the norm now when it comes to
Hmm.
battle royale. It's just fucking everything.
Right.
But hey, I guess it's selling.
It is. It is selling, and That's half the battle right there. Let's see here. He also brings up a good topic, and as a topic I want to save for a future show. How do you handle gaming with a significant other that isn't into it or may not understand it? How do you make it work?
Mhm.
Just a quick answer to that, but I think that's a deep topic that I think requires more of our time.
Very.
How do you make that work? Communication.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
just at its root, especially if it's something that's potentially interfering with your relationship. I think communication is the key.
Yeah, it's communication, it's a little bit of negotiation,
Yeah.
and I think it's also, like, you have to kind of have some passion in terms of, like, standing up for that particular passion, right? Like, you have to kinda be like, "Look, like, this is one of my things, like, it's not a vice, it's not like I'm doing cocaine, like, this is just something that I enjoy doing, and I know
Hmm.
that you don't." And it's just something that we just kind of have to kind of come to terms with. And I think that if you can have that kind of conversation, and
Hmm.
sometimes it has to get to that level, then you can really balance it out instead of just kind of pulling the whole, like, oh, I'm just gonna like put headphones on and
Hmm.
ignore you and play Halo for like 5 hours. And then you
Right.
know y- you're like one of those couples, like, where you have like the girl coming in and like tossing the TV off the balcony, like that. That's what's going to happen if you don't communicate. So you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. One word: communication.
Yeah, it's really all it boils down to. And the majority of the people listening to the show, I believe, are um, you know, I would say 25 to 35-year-old males, mostly in relationships, long term, I
Hmm.
would gather, either married or otherwise. And I it's just all it boils down to is just being able to, explain yourself, being willing to compromise, but not bend over too much. Like, I don't know.
Exactly.
It's a deep conversation, and I really don't want to try to wrap it up in
No, we
less
need
than.
time for that one.
We need time for that one, so we'll
We'll
put
get
that
to
on
it.
the. Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge it. Thanks for sending it in, Raph. It's a great topic, and I do want to get into that deeper. Moving on, Puxor 3, who still, I asked him on the last show to explain his goddamn name to me, and he says to me, he spells it phonetically by spelling it the way he writes it, PUX0R3,
Uh-huh.
and I said to him, it's not Mario, it's Mario, because my Nikki, my girlfriend, whom I love very dearly, who's probably hearing me talk about her right now and might bust in and kill me. So if you hear me just like stop talking, yep, she's yelling at me now.
Ah,
Um, she's from Long Island, so she says everything Mario, Mario, but she says she's not saying Mario, she's saying Mario.
right.
You can
That's
hear,
all
I
she
don't.
knows.
She's talking shit already. I can hear her down the hallway.
She's like,
So
that's because it is fucking Mario.
yeah, but like you'd have to hear her say it to fully appreciate what's going on here.
Yeah.
Because like she hears in her head this difference between the word and there is no difference with what comes out of her mouth.
Mm.
Anyway,
I feel
Puxor.
like Puxor's name is like a Mr. Robot episode title.
I think he's trying too hard.
It's like a hacker thing.
Yeah. You know. Um Man, I can't wait for season 4.
Oh God, yeah, that's oof. What a show.
What a show. Anyway, he's playing Tetris 99 and Wargroove, always hoping today's the day that they do the surprise announcements of either Crosshack or Hades on the Switch, but no luck so far. Not familiar with either one of those.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know if it's Hades or Hades. I think it is Hades.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a game that, if he's speaking about the same one I'm thinking of, it's a new game by Supergiant Games, who were the guys behind Bastion,
Mm. Oh,
Transistor, and Pyre.
okay.
So Hades looks very good. I believe
Mm.
it's in some kind of development stage still.
Uh-huh.
But either way, it looks really, really good, and I think that it would look really sweet on the Switch.
Hmm. I might have to look into that. I need
Yeah.
to start making a list of games that I want to buy for the Switch when that day comes.
Mm.
So, he also says, "Oh yeah, I'm also playing to see if Drew reads whatever I type verbatim. Hi, I'm Woody. Howdy, howdy, howdy."
Huh.
What just happened?
I don't know.
That was weird. Okay. Anyway, Digital Matrix throws out are our expectations at launch for games as a service too high? This is another one of those topics that I think requires a little bit more of an in-depth episode. But I think that the expectations are too high. He's referring to games like Destiny, Warframe, Anthem, things like that, where you have a game that you're purchasing and then the game becomes a service where they're constantly giving you new content.
Yeah, it's that's a really good topic
Mm.
that, like you said, requires I think some lengthy time. But I just to kind of touch up on it because that's what we're doing here. I think that I mean it's such a double-edged sword. There's more than one answer here, but I think that perhaps he's right, that our expectations are perhaps too high for games like Destiny and
Mm.
Anthem and stuff, because the way that they're kind of introducing these games now is a little bit more servicey, right? Like there's a lot of patches, there's updates, and I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to roll it out to the customer, not really as quickly as possible, but like in a phase where it's not at its
Hmm.
final phase yet. And I think that that's like their intentions though, is that
Mm.
they want to release it in a certain phase, and then you're going to go through different phases of the game with updates and patches and DLC and like new services. And that's kind of the new wave now of
Mm.
introducing those sorts of games. That would be like a quick way for me to kind of look at that and come up with some kind of answer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely I think we need to dive into this a little bit more because it's a layered discussion.
Yes,
You know,
very much
there's
so.
there's a lot of layers to it. And I think that there's more than just meets the eye. I think I think a lot of times what happens, just a quick hit, is we play one game and we not always, not all of us. I want to preface that, but I think a lot of times we forget the trials and tribulations that we went through as a day one adopter of that game and look at it from day 600 instead, and how much that game has progressed and advanced, and what it's become.
Hmm.
And we're looking through everything with these rose tinted glasses, and then when a new kid comes on the block, I think we're saying, okay, well, all these things that this other game did, this one should be doing too. And it's not. And we don't know the reasoning or the rationale. Maybe the goal is different. Maybe the publishers were so wrapped up in what they were doing, they weren't paying attention. Maybe
Hmm.
they made a mistake. I don't know. I'm not making excuses, but I think there's more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah. And
So,
a lot of it involves like patience, in terms of like gamers in general. Like you have like a percentage of gamers that are very impatient and
yeah.
they want a complete product like day one.
Yeah.
And then you have the other gamers that are a little bit more patient in the sense that they understand like what this kind of new wave of games is about, and a lot of them require a lot of updates day one. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a big discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, all right. And then we do have a submission from Superbus, which will be our opening topic today. We will dive into that shortly. So, Will, let's pivot on to what are you playing right now?
Still Vanquish, struggling in a very major way.
Mm.
I remember, and most of you guys that are listening will remember that Drew did challenge me to try and beat this game. I believe it was this week. So that's
Well,
looking pretty slim.
I threw down the gauntlet, but I did not give you like a time frame.
Right.
So,
Um,
like, I understand you are an adult.
yeah.
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 So,
But I'm
just
not
beat it.
concerned about it.
Yeah.
I just need to beat it. I need to stop fucking around. I just need to make time. It's not really about finding time. It's just making it, and just trying to focus in
Yeah.
and get it done, because it's really just not a long game, and the hankering to play it is still there. So at least that's not gone.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to your review, but I
Yeah,
want to hear, everything about it, good, bad, ugly, whatever. So,
absolutely. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing like an on air review of that game.
definitely.
What about
Uh,
you?
so up to this point, I've been playing Spider-Man
Hmm.
primarily, and then as of last night, Anthem has started. So I'll talk a little bit about Spider-Man first. Really fun game. Um, I'm about 30% of the way through with the main story.
Okay.
They give you a counter on the bottom of the screen, so like I could just stick to the main missions, and I'm pretty sure like if I just focus on the story missions, I could probably beat the game by the next time we record. Um, it just seems to be moving at a very quick pace, but I'm doing a lot of the side stuff too. Like there's a lot of collectibles hidden throughout the game, and
Uh-huh.
this is where I always fucking get stuck on games because I have this mentality from when I was playing Final Fantasy when I was 14 years old that I have to collect everything,
Yep.
and I can't shake it. And instead of just beating the game and moving on, I'm collecting every backpack and unlocking all the gadgets and doing all this, and it's fun. Like I'm enjoying it, but
Yeah.
I'm doing the same shit I did in Horizon 80 hours later, and it's happening again with Spider-Man.
Well, I mean, this is just a classic case of like no stone left unturned kind of
Uh huh.
mentality.
Yeah.
And it exists in a lot of gamers' minds, right? Like it's just like it's a very difficult, like I wouldn't even say habit. It's just kind of like a style of play that's hard to shake, like if you've been doing it for so long.
It really is. Like when Anthem booted up for the first time, the first thing you do is you have a hallway that you can go down. All right, so they do like this intro mission first, and then there's this hallway that you can travel down and start like talking to people, and it's like okay, they're pointing you in the direction you're supposed to go. So what's the first thing I do? I turn the opposite way and I go and start exploring all the nooks and crannies.
I do the same thing.
And it's like that's the I think the perfect example of like all of my problems with video games. Right there. It's like I need to check under everything.
Yeah. No,
And
you're right.
there's collectibles everywhere. It's
No, I think you're right,
ridiculous.
man. Like, I think that's part of our problem and part of a lot of gamers' problems is like
Hmm.
maybe we are suffering from the stone unturned sort of mentality
Yeah.
because I mean, just in about almost every game I can think of, I always want to take like a different route, or I'm just
Hmm.
tempted to kind of like look around and check for stuff because I don't want to miss anything. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of those older games that you mentioned before, like Final Fantasy and whatever it may be, they kind of trained us at like an early age to kind of have that mindset and that
Hmm.
that game style.
Well, even a game like Metroid or Super Metroid, they have you go left to start things off, and then you're shooting every fucking brick on a wall, on the ceiling, and on the floor, trying to find all these hidden items.
Yeah,
And it directly impacts how well you do at the game. Like the more hidden stuff you find, the better off you are.
yeah.
So, but yeah, so I've been playing Spider-Man. I've been really enjoying it, and then I got a call. I'm in the middle of folding laundry yesterday evening, and this is like 6 o'clock at night, right? Just finished up dinner, folding laundry, and I get a phone call from a number I don't recognize, and I'm like, I don't answer. If it's a number I don't know, I don't even bother, right?
Right.
So they leave a message. I pick up the phone. I listen to the message. Best Buy called me, and they're like, "Hey, we're just letting you know that if you want to pick up your pre-order of Anthem, you could do so at 9 o'clock this evening."
Whoa.
And I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" So I finished doing what I had to do. I got ready. We ate dinner, and then I head out the door. I went to Best Buy. Got there at like 8:55. They had to wait till 9 o'clock to actually make the purchase. But everything went pretty smoothly. I came home, popped the disc in, took an hour to install. Um, so I decided, like, I put the disc in. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna watch Star Trek because there was a new episode of Star Trek on last night.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm not gonna bother waiting. I know this is gonna take a while. Let me do something in the meantime. Installed the game, watched my Star Trek. When Star Trek was over, I'm good to go. Right? Start playing the game. I get past the intro. Like there's this whole intro, like introducing you to your character, basically like a tutorial. It's like a prequel kind of thing, what happened before the events of the game. And then from there you go to the like actual character creation. The character creation is super rudimentary. It's just pick your voice, pick your face. That's it. And you don't even make your own face. It's all pre done because you're never going to see that face,
Yeah.
right? It's so BioWare is just like just pick something so you have a persona in your mind. It doesn't matter. You're in fucking Iron Man suit the rest of the time.
Yeah.
I fell asleep at the fucking pick your face screen. It was 11, like 11:30, not even 11:30, 11 o'clock at night. I'm on the sofa and I'm looking at the screen and I just start dozing off.
Oh no.
So I shut
Well,
the,
I mean,
yeah.
like at least it wasn't like 8:30 or like 9:30.
No, no, I mean, thankfully, because if it was at 9:30, I would have been driving. but, but yeah, it's just, like, I was so excited for this game and then just pass out,
Wow,
like,
man.
and I mean, it wasn't like completely a wasted trip. Like, I got the game early, I got it installed. I didn't have to worry about that part. So when I woke up this morning, all I had to do was install the random update my Xbox received, which had nothing to do with the game.
Yeah.
That took an hour. But aside from that,
Jesus.
everything was fine. I was able to play. I didn't have to worry about waiting, till 10 o'clock to go get it. And the funny thing is I originally ordered the game to be shipped to the house.
Mhm.
And I've always had bad luck ordering games from Best Buy and getting them shipped on release day because they always end up showing up at like 7 o'clock at night.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? Let me not do this. Like, I got the day off. I don't have any obligations. I want to play this as early as I can. So I switched it to the in-store shipping, and it worked out great. They called me. I picked it up last night. Everything was great. But the game was supposed to come with a steelbook as well, too, right? And for some reason, when they changed the shipping to the store pickup, they still shipped the steelbook.
Okay.
Very weird, right? So like they didn't have my steelbook at the store. Like, oh yeah, here's a tracking number for you and everything. I'm like, all right, no problem, no problem. So the steelbook came at 7 o'clock at night tonight.
Weird.
So if I had shipped the game too, I would not have been able to play it.
No. Well, you hit the nail on the head with the whole 7 o'clock thing.
Yeah, man.
It always does seem to be like 7.
Yeah, it was like 6:45. It was just before we started recording. I picked it up.
Well, I will say that like when you were telling your story about falling asleep,
Did you
at
start
the
falling asleep too?
no, I just started thinking about how, I mean, it must have been reminiscent of you being like, 9 years old on Christmas morning, because that's what a 9-year-old would do on
Fall asleep
Christmas
with a
morning.
game?
Yeah.
No, man. I was always like super excited. I had like the ball of energy on Christmas morning. I wasn't falling asleep on Christmas morning, but I also like didn't get up like super early either. I got up at like a normal time.
Yeah. I just feel like I was that kid that had a hard
Yeah.
time sleeping like Christmas Eve,
And then you
because
passed out.
and then you kind of pass out late, or you get like shitty sleep and then you're like super tired in the morning, like opening up your presents and you just like fall asleep, or you end up taking like a giant nap.
Yeah.
But you can do that when you're 9.
Yeah. Yeah. I miss, like, it's so funny. I have such a love-hate relationship with naps.
Oh God, they can be terrible and they can be wonderful.
I feel like if I fall asleep and take a nap, like I feel like I've wasted my life.
Right.
I
You
feel
wake
like
up,
I feel
you
like a
feel
sack of
worse.
shit.
Yeah. Like literally. You're like, I actually I weigh more.
Yeah.
I somehow like just feel gross and I need to take a shower even though I took a shower like before I took the nap.
Yep.
Like you always just wake up feeling like, I mean, no offense to homeless people, but you just feel like homeless.
Yeah.
You wake up, you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, like I got a cowlick on the side of my head that's like the size of a fucking ruler. Like this is just terrible. You're
Well, if
parched.
you don't have any hair, you don't have to worry about that part.
Yeah, that's true.
So, folks, thank you to everybody that sent in a comment. Thank you to everybody that hit up the mailbox. Let us know what they're playing. Be sure to send us your now playings through social media at WDGRPodcast or on Discord. And that link, I wish I could say the link over the air, but it's just too many letters that don't make sense. But come join us in the chat room. We have a great community of people that have been talking and sharing what's going on in their lives, what games they're playing, all kinds of funny anecdotes. Really proud of the community that we have here. We'd love to have you be a part of it.
Yes, absolutely. I think this is, like we said last time, it just seems to be really kicking off, and I think we're really enjoying it.
Yeah, and it's growing by the day. So very excited to see more and more people joining us each day. And yeah, That's about all I got to say there.
Awesome.
So, so yeah, let's jump into our main opening topic here. Reggie Fils-Aime is stepping down as the president of Nintendo of America. He retires on April 15th.
Yeah, it's I think shocking to a lot of people, even for people that aren't really kind of involved in sort of the politics of gaming,
Hmm.
or really just kind of following like CEOs and presidents, and like there are a lot of gamers that don't give a fuck about that stuff. Like they're just there to buy games and play them. But
Yeah.
I think that the gamers, like the level that we're at, which I wouldn't say is like an elitist level, but it's just more of like a passionate level where we care about the community and we
Hmm.
care about like who's running these companies. I think it's a much larger deal.
Yeah, I mean, when Reggie took over back in 2004, he took over a company that to me felt very like uncool. You know, Nintendo for me, and I know there's a lot of people that would probably disagree with it, but it just didn't feel like a very cool company to me. It felt very wooden, very robotic.
Mm,
And he came in and he just had this charisma and life and passion to him that I think was lacking from Nintendo at that time. Uh, he just became like a personality associated with the company. And it was something that I think Nintendo really desperately needed.
yeah, because like I think overall, like to my knowledge, before Reggie kind of hit the scene, it was
Hmm.
a very Japanese company, right? Like, I mean, just like the
Yeah.
rest of them, like, it was hard for Miyamoto and some of those guys to really kind of translate and resonate with the rest of the fans,
Hmm.
on an easily, because like since they were so foreign, like a lot of these guys they don't speak English like
Right.
at all. So it was hard for them to communicate in the right kind of way,
Yeah.
to at least the American audience. And I think Reggie really was like a rock star in that sense, like when he kind of hit the scene.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. You know, he Americanized a company that had struggled to be American. You know, as historic as the name Nintendo is in the video game industry, they always kind of had this, I think, image of being a very Japanese company. And you know, there's definitely a cultural separation between what's going on in Japan and what's going on in America.
Hmm.
And Reggie did a good job of bridging that gap. And I think not only relating to the fans, um, you know, what what they can expect and what was coming and what to look forward to, but also trying to translate that into something that the creators of Nintendo could work with. You know,
Yeah, I mean, Reggie made Zombie U look interesting, and that game
yeah,
was fucking horrible.
yeah, yeah,
So I think these people are important. For
yeah,
the people that don't give a shit about these people that are running the companies, like a lot of them, I guess don't matter per se, but I think some of them really do, and I think Reggie
yeah.
was one of those people that did matter.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo has had him as the face of the company for 15 years, and Xbox has been very much about having, I think, public faces with their products as well too. You have Phil Spencer and Major Nelson's another one, Larry Herb, who both those guys are very public figures with the company. They're always repping the brand, and you know, it's kind of a change in direction, I think, for the industry, you know, to have somebody who's front and center in public and out there, being the face of, you know, not only the brand, but also of video games,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know. I don't know of anybody at Sony that's doing that.
Yeah, that's a good point. When I think of Sony, I think of Mark Cerny.
Hmm.
I think of Hideo Kojima. I mean, even though he doesn't really represent Sony in that sense, like he still is kind of like a Sony figure.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I guess if you were to break down like Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo, Reggie really kind of might have won that. I wouldn't even say war, but he might have been the sort of face of all three companies out of the three, like if that makes sense. So like obviously he's
Yeah.
not representing all three, but like out of the three, he was the only person I could think of that
Yeah.
really had that face to that particular brand.
He was the first one,
Yeah.
I feel. And looking back at his E3 2004 speech, he declared, "My name is Reggie. I'm about kicking ass. I'm about taking names, and we're about making games." You know, and I think that summed it up. It really shifted Nintendo's perspective into making quality games and making gaming fun.
Yeah.
Now, in an interesting twist, Reggie is going to be handing the reins over to a gentleman by the name of Doug Bowser.
Unreal. I still I can't wrap my head around this. I mean, either it's a complete setup, or his real last name is Bowser, and that was how he got the job.
I mean, this man was born for it.
Yeah, clearly.
But I guess he's been in the marketing department or is a marketing person. I don't know a lot about him yet at this point. Let's see here. So yeah, he's been, I guess, mentored by Reggie for the past 4 years.
Mm.
So this has been a transition that's been coming, for a while. Um, you
Very
know,
common, by the way. Like when you have a president or a CEO that, is stepping down or even not stepping down, they usually always have somebody that they're grooming at the same
mhm,
time to kind of, fill their position if that were to happen.
yeah. I mean, when you have a company that size, you need to have somebody ready
Yes.
to take over. It
Yes.
just doesn't work, any other way, I guess.
Yeah, no,
But
it's not like, they just kind of quit or resign. They're like, oh shit, so who do we have?
yeah. And in another interesting twist as well, too, Mr. Bowser here did put up a post on social media saying thank you for the warm welcome, and it's a photo of him holding up a sign that says thank you. He's smiling all ear to ear and everything, looks very nice. But in the background, he has some plushies of Mario and Luigi tied up with tape, and he is surrounded by uh, minions of Bowser.
Yeah, it's a very funny photo.
It is hilarious.
Anyone listening or, once you're done with this episode, go into the mailbox chat and check it out.
Yeah, it's funny stuff. It's good to see that they found somebody that, at the surface at least, seems to have a sense of humor, which I think
Yes,
is critical to this role, especially with social media nowadays. Like, having a sense of humor can make or break you.
it is. Yeah, and I think that the last thing that gamers want is like another president or CFO or CEO in some suit, and then
Hmm.
they're just kind of looking at him like, what does this guy know? Because I
Right.
think that still happens. Like when we watch E3, there's always that like one or two guys that come out in a fucking suit and no one really knows who they are. And they're just like, why is this guy president? Or why is this guy speaking about like The Last of Us? Like, what does he know? Like, I think that stigma is
Hmm.
still there. And that's why
Right.
it's important for these guys to, like you said, have that sense of humor.
Yeah, I agree 100% there. Um, yeah. What else can be said about this man? You know?
Uh, I think I have two things. One is quick. I think that the amount of people that probably mispronounced Reggie's last name for the entire 15 years of his career must be pretty staggering.
I would say that I was one of them for 13 of those years.
Oh yeah, I was one for probably the same amount of time until I think I watched like an IGN video, like I don't know, probably like 2, 3 years ago, and somebody said like Fils-Aime, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
my god, I'm gonna remember that
Yeah.
so I can say it correctly instead of saying like Bill's
Yeah.
aim.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah, I
one of
think
those
he's
names. Once you learn it, like you have it in confidence.
I think I read somewhere today that he's part Haitian, so perhaps that's
Is he?
yeah, that it could be like just you know, a cultural kind of thing going into play there. I'm not
Hmm.
sure if it's like a common Haitian last name or Haitian spin on something there, but
I don't
either
know.
way, interesting last name for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And an interesting man.
Yeah, I really don't know much about him, but what I do know is that he seemed like a really fun guy. He seemed to really be completely 100% knee deep in the company
Mm.
from day one to end. And I think that for Nintendo, I really hope this guy works out because I think uh, for them as a company, it's important for them to continue to succeed because they're competing against Xbox and Sony, and those guys are juggernauts in the
Yeah.
gaming community. So like it's important for them to pump out more games than just like, their usual like Mario stuff and, Zelda. They need to kind of keep doing stuff like Bayonetta 3 and
Yeah.
other third-party titles.
Well, I mean, it seems like the Switch has already outsold the Wii U, from what I understand. I
Yes.
might be over exaggerating, but I don't think I am. I don't have the numbers
No.
in front of me. And they're definitely on the heels of at the very least the Xbox sales. PlayStation 4 is going to be a little tough to dethrone, but I think if they keep doing what they're doing, I think Nintendo's got a good shot of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, best of luck to Reggie. Thank you for 15 years of making awesome games and being part of an awesome brand. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
Moving on to our next topic, and this one actually was brought to our attention from Joe Donuts. They made a new Saturn controller. Oh
This
boy.
is huge. I mean, it's huge for people like you and me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be huge in such a generalized way, but I think it's funny how most of us, I think that day when I did the game day at my house, we went to a place called Regency Gaming and we picked up that third party sort of old school. It was the
Mm-hmm.
brand of the Saturn controller because we needed to get another one.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wish that this had come out sooner because I would have bought this instead. But
Well, it was cheaper.
it
Uh,
was.
this this one is, I think, right? How
Well,
much? How much you pay
actually,
for that one?
I think I paid around 20.
Huh. Okay.
At least, yeah, it was 20 or more. It might have even been like 24.99 or something, but I mean, it works fine, but like the fact that this is, I believe, licensed by
Mm-hmm.
Sega and seems to be like pretty much 100% official and original,
Mm-hmm.
it makes it very tempting to kind of keep on my radar.
Yeah, this is on Amazon right now for 19.99. It's by a company called Retrobit. It is officially licensed Sega Saturn controller. It is wired. There does not seem to be any sort of Bluetooth or anything like that. It has a 10-foot cable, which is fucking great. How often do you see
Yes.
10-foot cables? Um, but yeah, this is pretty awesome, and it will work with your Sega Saturn if you still have one. And I mean, it looks beautiful.
It really
Very nice and
does.
shiny. It's got the Sega Saturn branding right front and center of it. Um, you know, looks like a nice pad.
Yeah, the funny thing about the Saturn controller, especially this one, which is pretty much the original, it's such a basic looking controller and it looks
Hmm.
kind of like almost clunky and mushy, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like that's what made it so good, because I think it was comfortable. You could really mash on this thing. It was great for games like X-Men versus Street Fighter, basically like fighting games. You could really bang out combos on this thing and the D-pad was probably one of the best ever for
Hmm.
fighting games.
Now, didn't the Sega Saturn have more than one variant of controller too? Like there was one that had like an analog stick.
I believe so. I
Yeah,
think
they
we,
had a 3D control pad, which my God, it looks like it's the size of the damn system.
yeah, I think I remember that. Um, but
It.
I think that we can all agree that Saturn was kind of an odd console, and it came out
Mm.
with some pretty interesting fight sticks and controllers. And either way, I'm just glad that they're releasing this one because I think this is the one that we all want and the one that we all enjoyed.
Looks like I found this great website called consolevariations.com, and they have all the variants of Sega Saturn controllers, all the Japanese, American releases. I'm going to send you this link so you can take a peek at it.
Yeah, please.
Um, but they're showing thumb flight sticks. They have there was a Sega Saturn mouse, a couple of them, variations of it. These were mostly not in North America. It looks like they're primarily Japanese. Um, I don't remember whatchamacallit. Did Virtual On ever come out in the Sega Saturn?
Not sure.
Okay. I don't believe it did. I know it's on the Dream. Well, there was a version of it on the Dreamcast. Um, I have it and I can't think of it, and it's next to me, but I don't feel like looking. Um, that was a weird arcade game because you had the two sticks. Have you ever played it?
No, I don't think I have.
So Virtual On is a really fun twin stick arcade game, and it's not a twin stick shooter like Geometry Wars or anything like that. You're controlling a mech, and depending on whether you do like both sticks forward, both sticks back, both sticks away from center, both sticks towards the center, it changes the movement of your mech. So you have guns and missiles that you're using the triggers and like a button on the thumb part, on the top of the stick. And then let's say you want to go to the left. Well, you would take both sticks and you move them to the left. But if you want to spin, pivot to the left, then you would only either move one stick or you would do one stick forward, one stick back, or different controls like that. It was a very strange game, but very intuitive once you kind of got the hang of it.
Okay.
And it was just like mech fighting. It was awesome. It was like a third person view. You're looking over the shoulder of your mech and you're basically trying to blow up the other mech.
Huh.
Very, very Sega. Very, very Sega.
I love it.
But it was one of my favorite arcade games.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've heard of the name
Mm.
plenty of times, but I just don't know if I've ever played it.
Yeah, it's just pure polygons. They did re-release it on Xbox 360 at one point, which was perfect for the dual shot or the dual sticks on that.
Mm-hmm.
And it does look like it may have been on the Saturn as well too. So recommend checking it out. I recommend
Yeah.
checking it out. It's worth at least playing once, I would say, just for history's sake.
Yeah, I mean, this website alone is fantastic.
Yeah, consolevariations.com. There's some really cool shit here.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to spend some time with this later.
Yeah, definitely. Not now.
No.
I'm getting distracted.
Yeah.
Um,
Go ahead.
but yeah, I think it looks like I was wrong about the controller too. It was not the first iteration; it was the second iteration. So the first one had a little bit more
Mhm.
edges to it and was
Okay.
slightly larger.
Interesting. And so that's the. Let's see here, because I went down that rabbit hole and found a different one. So which one were you looking at here?
So I was looking at here. Let me go back. Sega,
Mm.
and we're looking at the Saturn. So if you look
Oh,
at controller,
Model 1?
yeah. So the one that they're re-releasing is Model 2.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, the Model 1 is I don't like
That
that
is,
one
that
actually.
is way chunkier.
Yeah, and the D-pad looks really odd.
Yeah. Huh. That's always something that's just like really piqued my interest. Is like just a variation on a either on a console or on a controller. Like all these different things. Well, I understand the need for revisions, and sometimes a controller just doesn't work out. Like the original Xbox controller, the Duke.
Yeah.
I know some people love it, but fuck that controller. That thing sucked.
Oh no, fuck it.
So the S controller was born, and it was a much better revision, and it's led to the 360 controller and the Xbox One controller, which I think are great controllers. But then you have something like the PlayStation controller, which became the DualShock, and then we can get into like system revisions too. Why they would revise the system, drop the price on it, cheaper parts, but they remove things that you could do with it, and I don't know. There's a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah, it really is because like a lot of people don't realize that even just take the PS4, I think there's been at least maybe like 3 or 4 iterations already so far. Like you've had the
Mm-hmm.
launch, then you had one that was like all matte black, and then you had one that was slim, and then you had the Pro. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of amazing sometimes how those things can just kind of go under the radar if you're not paying attention.
If there was any controller that you would like them to remake, which one would it be?
For Sony or just anything?
For anything, any system, like what controller would you like to have like back in your hands again?
Um, it's a good question. In a lot of ways, I actually did enjoy the N64 controller, which is such a hot topic, I think, because there's a lot of people that really hated that controller, but I really didn't mind it, and I thought that it was pretty cool.
You are a
Um,
terrible person.
I know it's kind of a weird one, but I do enjoy that one. And then, oh man, this is tough. Uh, I guess the other one might be the Xbox 360 controller,
Hmm.
which I think a lot of people would agree on. Like that's one of the best controllers ever made. I think
Yeah.
it's just kind of perfect. So I don't know, man. Like I've never really been that into controllers in that sense, but I think that if I had to choose something that was kind of a throwback,
Hmm.
I guess it would be the 64.
Have you seen the Brawler 64 controller?
No.
So this is a third party that made the controller. I want to say maybe 2 years ago, and the idea is there's is an N64 controller, but it's designed more like a fight pad, and it's meant for players of Smash and things like that. It looks like a regular controller. I just sent the link over to you now, and it includes the analog stick as well as all the buttons. It's
Okay.
very interesting.
This actually, for some reason, it kind of reminds me of the GameCube controller.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I would say that that would also be something I'd like to see come back. And in a lot of ways, I think it has, right? Like, I think you can get that for like the Wii, the Wii U, and then I think even the Switch too.
Yeah. The GameCube controller I think is a weird duck. Um, I think there's a couple things on there that I really dig about it. I really like the analog stick. I think the controller feels good in my hands, but I'm not so crazy about the button layout.
Mm,
I think it makes it very difficult for me to play certain types of games. Like I know a lot of people were really crazy about Soul Calibur 2 on the GameCube, and they said that that's like the definitive version.
yeah.
And I understand the mindset because that version had Link versus um the Xbox version had Spawn, I think it was, and
Yes.
Heihachi was in the or PS2 version, right?
Correct. Yep.
So Link is the better character, but that controller to me just doesn't. It's just not right.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Nintendo kind of went through like a weird phase with controllers. Like they
Mm,
started out with, of course, NES and then SNES. And then they kind of just hit like this odd phase. Like I said,
yeah.
with N64 and with GameCube, like the button layout, like you said, was just kind of different
Hmm.
and a little bit odd. And it worked for some people and for some people it didn't. And,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I guess, all of these companies, they have to try something new.
So that company that is doing the Brawler 64, they also are in the process of releasing a Sega Saturn slash Genesis controller too.
Really?
If you go to that website and you just scroll down past the initial section, you'll see they call it the Brawler Gen,
Okay.
and I want to kind of get your thoughts on that. You can take
Yeah.
a peek.
I mean, what's going on here? Like, I mean, you said that this company is also going to make like a Saturn, like Genesis kind of thing. Like, is there a demand for this? Is that why like this is happening?
Apparently, um, there's a lot of demand, I think, for people to get controllers that are literally falling apart. If you try to find a Sega Saturn controller used, collectors are going to struggle to find one that's in good condition, as
Yes.
as you're aware.
Yes.
And the Nintendo 64 controllers, the analog stick is notorious for needing to be repaired or replaced.
Yes.
So as a collector, you're always looking for a way to extend the life of what you have or come up with something that allows you to continue to play the games that you have.
No,
And
you're right.
it's nice that we have this company and other companies like 8-Bit Do, Retrobit. This one is Retro Fighters. These companies are coming out with alternatives that collectors are able to use. In fact, I think I remember seeing there was another company that came out with a replacement TurboGrafx 16 controller, and the TurboGrafx 16, like their stuff goes. really expensive. Like it's hard to find stuff. Unfortunately, there sometimes end up being bugs, like it was not compatible with the multi-tap in that case.
Yeah.
There's just stuff that you don't realize happens until it's too late. But
No, I think you're right. I think that this really is as simple as people having that demand to kind of protect their old stuff.
yeah,
And exactly what you said, like it's just hard to find this stuff. Like I tried finding a Saturn controller on, I think, Amazon and eBay,
mm,
and half of them, if not 90% of them, were just like really beaten up.
yeah.
Because like who's got these things new? Like I mean, it's just such a rare thing to still have in box and unopened. Like because no one, I think, predicted that these controllers would be hard to find or desirable, in over the past like 5-10 years.
I think it's about the desirability. I don't think anybody expected people to like collect this stuff.
No, not at all. And these companies are now doing the right thing, and they're creating these companies like Retro Fighters, and you have Old School. There's so many of them that are making these third party accessories, and I think they're clever, for
Yeah,
doing this because they're getting on it now,
yeah,
and they realize that there's a huge market for it.
yeah.
So I
It's
think this
true.
is cool. And
Uh,
what you sent me here from Retro Fighters, I think this thing looks awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat thing. I think the official one looks way better, but this is a nice alternative, and I like the fact that it includes the analog stick, which is
Yes,
going to be useful for those games that require it. I'm trying to think of games that use it. I think Knights was one of them.
perhaps.
I don't know. I never owned a Saturn, so I'm kind of pulling at strings. Joe Donuts, hit us up. Let us know.
Yeah. Yeah, my Saturn is just not getting utilized right now, so I can't really speak on that.
just give it to me.
Oh no.
Just just give it. Just give me your Saturn, Will.
Just sell your oven and get a Switch.
Just give me the Saturn. I'll meet you under the bridge. You can have your Switch with you.
Yeah.
I'll bring a paper bag. We put the Saturn in the paper bag,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll give you a can of beans.
Yes, I'll need that. I'll have a stick. I do have that, but I'll need the
All right.
beans.
All right.
Bushes, if you could.
Bushes. All right.
Bushes.
Bushes, vegetarian beans
Mm-hmm.
for one Saturn, please.
That seems like a fair trade.
I think so. Well, my friend, we've been bullshitting for about an hour.
We
Yeah,
have.
you have any final topics? Anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap this show up?
Um, Not really. I think that we really kind of hit on quite a few things today that I'm going to be thinking about, such as Reggie. I want to do more research on him, and I encourage anybody that doesn't really know anything about him, do some research. I think he's a pretty cool
Mm,
guy. I'm excited to learn more about him. Um, and even though he's on his way out, sometimes that's the right time
yeah,
to analyze and study somebody. So I think
15 years is a good run.
it is. Yeah, that's a very good run, and like I said, I think he's done a lot for the company. So yeah, nothing more to add. I just got to get back to Vanquish and stop dicking around, and we'll have plenty of topics for next week's episode, I'm sure.
I realized that I hardly talked about Anthem.
Well, we'll get to that. That game's just warming up.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot more to say about it. But yeah. If you're playing Anthem, hit us up. Let us know what you're thinking of the game. All I want to say is just make your own decision. Don't focus strictly on the reviews. Make your own decision. Because there's a lot of negativity surrounding the game, and I've been having nothing but fun with it.
Yeah, and even though I haven't played this game, I can agree with Drew. I think that this is one of those games that's very important to make
Yeah.
sure that you construct your own opinion and your own decisions about this because it's just one of those controversial games right now.
Mm.
And I wouldn't say it's unfortunate. It's just kind of the nature of the beast when it comes to this kind of game.
Yep. I agree. So, Will, if somebody wants to hit you up on social media, how can they do so?
Will_gear.
You can find me on social media at CyanStorm. Follow us at WDGR Podcast. That's WDGR Podcast. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're on the web at wdgrpodcast.libsyn.com. We are on Discord. Link will be in the show notes. please join our community there. Have some fun with us talking about some games. And folks, if you do like the show, please make sure you subscribe. Please share the show with as many people as you can. Anybody that you think of that wants to hear about two 30-something guys chatting about juggling video games with real life. You know, we would appreciate you spreading the word out there and letting everybody know about it. Leave a review on iTunes. Leave a review on Stitcher, on Google, on Spotify, anywhere you download your podcast. If they let you leave a review, leave a review.
Yes, please let us know.
So, on that note, I don't have anything else to say.
Yeah,
So,
send us a fax and we'll be good to go.
All right, folks. See you next week. Thanks for listening.
Take care.